She said it with her wine glass still raised. "We're ashamed of you." Then she laughed, the kind of sharp, brittle laugh she used to cut people down when she thought no one would challenge her. The table followed, half-hearted chuckles, eyes darting, forks pausing mid-air. The lights glinted off the crystal centerpiece, and all I could hear was the faint clinking of silverware trying to drown the silence that followed. I didn't flinch. I just stared at her. Her lipstick was too red, her smile too tight. She looked exactly like she did the night she told me I'd never amount to anything. This time, though, I was ready. There was a time I worshipped her. When I was 8, I drew her picture in crayon, said she was my hero. She hung it on the fridge next to my brother's soccer medals. But the next morning, mine was gone. "It was crooked," she said, tossing it in the trash. That's how it always was. My brother was golden, my sister graceful. I was the difficult one, the quiet, stubborn disappointment who never learned to smile when scolded. She called it tough love. I called it training, the kind that turns affection into armor. When I got my scholarship, she said I was lucky. When I bought my first apartment, she said, "Don't get ahead of yourself." And when my startup failed, she said, "I told you this would happen." But it wasn't until I overheard her at a family gathering that something in me cracked. "She embarrasses us," she whispered to my aunt. "She thinks she's better than everyone, but look at her, alone, bitter, a failure." They laughed. That night I promised myself something. Next time she tried to humiliate me, she'd regret it. It wasn't rage that followed. It was focus. I started to pay attention to her stories, her lies, her fragile need to be admired. My mother was addicted to control, to the image of the perfect matriarch. Every holiday she polished it like silver. The family gathered, her rules, her power. So I waited for the right moment, the right audience. And Christmas came. I arrived late intentionally. She hated that. Everyone was already seated, my siblings, their spouses, the usual parade of judgment. I wore black, understated, confident. She looked me over like she was appraising damage. "You look tired," she said, with that performative sympathy that meant, "You look awful." I smiled. "It's been a productive year." She smirked. "Oh, you finally got a real job." Laughter again. Predictable. I waited. I let the night unfold. Wine poured, stories swapped. She bragged about my brother's promotion, my sister's engagement, then turned the spotlight toward me like a knife. "And you," she said, "still chasing those little projects?" I said nothing. Silence made her nervous. That's when she said it. "We're ashamed of you." And the room laughed. I stood up slowly, napkin in hand, calm, controlled. Everyone went quiet. "You know," I said, "I used to think the worst thing you could do to a child is ignore them. Turns out it's pretending to love them while breaking them down for sport." Her smile faltered. "You've spent your whole life making sure everyone knew how perfect you are. But perfection doesn't cry itself to sleep because its children don't call anymore. It doesn't drink to stay numb. It doesn't beg approval from people who see through the act." My sister shifted uncomfortably. My brother stared at his plate. "You said you were ashamed of me," I continued, voice steady. "But the truth is, I stopped being ashamed of you a long time ago." A tremor crossed her face. I leaned forward slightly. "You raised us to fear you. But fear fades, and once it's gone, all that's left is pity." Her eyes glistened. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The silence was punishment enough. "You wanted an audience," I said softly. "Now you have one." Tears welled. The first slipped down, cutting through her foundation.
She tried to speak, but the words came out broken, incoherent. The table was frozen. No one moved. I placed my napkin on the table, turned, and walked out. She called that night. I didn't answer. She texted, "You humiliated me." I didn't reply. 2 weeks later, my brother sent a message, "She won't stop crying." I read it twice, then deleted it. I didn't do it to make her cry. That was just a consequence. I did it because she needed to hear what she'd built her life avoiding, the truth. Control was her language, silence was mine, and I spoke it fluently. Now, every Christmas, I don't show up. They still gather, still set a place for me, as if I might walk in. But I already had my closure that night, watching her face crumble under the weight of her own